Hey there, guys. My name is Brandon, aka Suns Geek, and if it has to deal with the Phoenix Suns, I'm going to make a video about it. I know this is a spontaneous live stream, but the draft is a couple of days away. We're both very excited, so I had to bring on my good friend, fellow YouTuber, and you know what? Draft expert. That's right. You heard me say it. Draft expert. Romp 2.0. And you know what, guys? If you missed the live show, it's totally okay. You guys can go back afterwards. And you guys can leave your thoughts, comments, and opinions. So before we get started, let's just take a deep breath here. Romp, how you doing, man? What's going on in your world?
I'm doing good, man. I'm ready to get into some draft prospects for the Suns. Even though I don't know the likelihood they trade this pick, but I feel like it could happen. But I'm not like into the Suns universe, so I don't know much if they're looking to trade this or whatever. But it's a chance, so let me know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely up in the air. Definitely like your Sixers 28th pick, which we'll talk about that later. But I feel like it is up in the air, and the Suns could possibly trade this pick because, as I mentioned before, I don't really know what we're going to do with this pick, but we'll see. We're going to talk about it. You're going to help me out big time here because you know what, Romp? I was too busy covering the Phoenix Suns NBA Finals run to even focus on the draft. So that's why I brought you in here, man, is for you to tell me 4 or 5 of your favorite prospects for the Phoenix Suns. And really, we can just talk about anybody afterwards if you want. You already know I have a couple of my favorite picks. So, Romp, let's go ahead and get started, man. Start me off with one of your favorite picks for the Phoenix Suns and why they should draft him.
So I'm going to go from my favorite to, ranking the best to worst. So
you can throw in some honorable mentions.
Yeah. Number 1, I got Charles Bassey.
My man.
He's 6'11", 7'3" wingspan. This dude is like, he's got one of the highest motors I've seen in this year's class. You guys need size. He's going to bring it on the defensive end of the floor. He's going to be a good rebounder. He also has a lot of mobility. He can run the floor. Like, he's a freak in the open floor. And he has shown like some potential like with handles, but it's probably not going to translate right away. And he's kind of like, he's going to produce right away as a player, but his ceiling's pretty high in my opinion. I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on him because I don't hear much about him whatsoever, but he's just one of those players kind of like Montrezl Harrell where he's going to play hard every possession, and also kind of like Richaun Holmes. He gives me those vibes where he's going after every offensive board, every defensive board. He's going to be a great lob threat in the pick and roll with CP3 and Devin Booker. So I think it's a perfect fit if you guys want to back up center. And yeah, give you some depth at the big position, which is much needed, as you know.
Yeah, I mean, Charles Bassey is one of my favorite prospects. I mean, you basically just gave a great description of him, but, he's 6'11", 7'3" wingspan. And guys, when we say that he is athletic and that he can protect the rim, we are serious. Go watch his highlights. This dude is swatting every single shot. And you mentioned his handles. He surprisingly does have those kind of handles when he's rim running. So it's not like he's just flopping the ball all around the place and losing it. This guy knows how to play. And it's funny because he hasn't really been playing basketball for that long, but when he has been playing basketball at Western Kentucky, he's been super productive. I agree with you that he is kind of being slept on. Now, we don't really know what's going to happen in this draft. I feel like this is a mystery kind of draft, but I feel like this guy should be a lot higher than what he is projected to be at. All the mock drafts have him like in the late first round, second round. This is a complete overstatement, but I got to say it. He runs the floor like Bill Russell, and I'm not even kidding. That's one thing that Bill Russell gets slept on is that people just think that he was great at rebounding and blocking shots. Bill Russell was super athletic, but you kind of threw a few comparisons out there, and I think you've mentioned this before. Clint Capella kind of comparison, Mitchell Robinson, Robert Williams. Now, those are guys, I forgot where Clint Capella went in the draft, but Mitchell Robinson was a late kind of pick. Same thing with Robert Williams, and now they're both on playoff teams. I mean, I don't know about the Celtics, but you get my point, is that they're contributing to their teams, and I feel like they could contribute. Charles Bassey is fantastic, man. Another thing, too, about his game is really his shooting percentages, 59% from the field. And believe it or not, guys, he can hit the three, 31% from three, which isn't good. And they're not going to ask him to do that in the NBA, but he can shoot the three if he's left.
And he's willing. He's willing to take the three, which is a good sign moving forward, because that would make him even better than what he's projected to be. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And again, they're not going to ask him to pick and pop and hit that three, but if he's left wide open, one thing that I like about him is he will take that shot. He'll do it. Now, again, he's probably not going to do that in the NBA, but that's not why he's there. He's there to block shots, grab rebounds, literally be a defensive anchor in the paint. And he's just super athletic, very mobile. Do you have any other thoughts on Charles Bassey?
Oh, he's going to be a steal. That's all I got to say.
I agree. I think down the even just in a couple short years, I feel like down the road, we'll be looking at Charles Bassey and we'll say that guy's a steal and he should have went a lot higher. So what's your second prospect for the Phoenix?
All right, so I got Quentin Grimes. He's a small forward, 6'5", 6'7" wingspan. I know what Suns fans are already thinking. We have Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder. But the thing about Quentin Grimes that I think kind of separates him from those guys is he can get to the rim, he can take it off the dribble, and he can provide some relief from Devin Booker and CP3, because pretty much the whole Suns offense was run through Devin Booker and CP3, but Quentin Grimes is the type of guy you can give him the ball, run a pick and roll. He can create for himself, shoot it in the face of anyone. He shot 40% from three on 8 attempts per game. His confidence is unreal. Defensively, he's going to be good as well, very good. And it just seems like a James Jones pick, in my opinion. And I feel like a lot of Suns fans are either saying go for a big or a point guard. But in my opinion, in the draft, you just got to go for who's going to be a good player. And Quentin Grimes, he's going to be a steal. I could honestly see him being a starting caliber player. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the draft just because he has that type of confidence that just grows in the NBA. He's willing to shoot it over anyone. He's going to take any shot. It doesn't matter. And I think putting him next to CP3 and Devin Booker, it's a recipe for success. And I want to see that, to be honest.
Yeah, and we obviously don't know what's going to happen in the NBA offseason. So if the Suns do draft him, he could have immediate playing time. And you said the key words, a James Jones pick. And I 100% agree with you. This guy is a shooter, 40% shooting, and this guy can rebound too. That's another thing that I like about him. He could be another 3-and-D player. And I've said this multiple times, and I'll say it multiple times in the future. You can never have enough wings. You can never have enough 3-and-D players in any era of basketball. And I think that Quentin Grimes is that kind of player, and maybe a player that I might be sleeping on, because I honestly didn't know too much about him, but I've been seeing that he's been rising up draft boards.
Really skyrocketed.
He's been rising up draft boards, and he was
projected to go like second round. Now I'm seeing first round. So he's really skyrocketed from the NBA Combine and just some off-season workouts with teams. So obviously GMs are seeing something in him.
And I think I got this from one of your videos that you made. He hit 6 threes a couple of times during the season, and then he had one game where he hit 8 threes. So the dude's just a straight bucket.
He really is a bucket, and he can take it off the dribble. And Cam Johnson can do that. Mikal can do that at times, but just not as consistently as Quentin Grimes. So he brings a different element as a forward, in my opinion, which would be great for the team. Plus, it kind of gives you some options where if Grimes does turn out to be a good player, then you maybe don't sign Cam Johnson or don't sign Bridges. You know what I'm saying? So it gives you options, because he's going to be cheaper, is what I'm trying to say. Does that make sense?
And that can kind of go back to our draft talk later about if the Suns do keep this pick, that pick will be $2 million cheaper-ish, down the road, which could really help because, the Suns are going to have to pay everybody and it's going to be expensive. So sometimes these draft picks do matter in terms of salary. So what about your third prospect for the Phoenix Suns?
So right now we got another big here.
Let's go.
From Villanova. So he's going to be a solid role player. Jeremiah Robinson Earl, he's 6'9", 230 pounds. His footwork is phenomenal. I think he's going to be a three. I think he's going to be able to shoot the three ball. He didn't really shoot it in college, but at Nova, he wasn't really asked to do so. He has a very, very good mid-range game. He honestly reminds me of Dario Sarge, but I think he's going to be a little more consistent than Sarge. And he's going to play great defense because, he's from Villanova. And speaking about Villanova, the reason I keep bringing that up is because you got players in the league like Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo. The list goes on and on. Eric Pascal.
Solid players, basically.
And Jay Wright does a great job at just teaching them how to play and how to translate to the league. Yep, and how to win. And he's a winning player. He's going to do whatever the coach asked him to do. And he's kind of like a plug-in player where any team that drafts him, it doesn't matter where, he's going to fit. He's just that type of player. He will take any role. He's not going to complain. He's a high-character dude. So he's going to be a great role player in the future. And he kind of gives me like Dario Sarge vibes. That's the role he would have on your team.
And, that actually might be perfect because the way you summed up him, and, like I told you, I don't really know too much about this particular pick. This is a guy that I really do need to do some homework on over the past couple of days. But the way you described him, and you mentioned Dario a couple of times, obviously Dario Sarge is out with the injury for, unfortunately, the foreseeable future. We don't know when he's going to be back, which sucks because he had a roller coaster of a season. Dario was a big contributor at times for the Phoenix Suns. So if the Suns draft this guy, that could be the perfect, I don't want to use the word replacement, but replacement, the perfect filler until Dario gets back. And the way you described him, I'm going to say this again, a James Jones kind of pick. And coming from Villanova, Jay Wright, that whole connection and everything, again, that seems like a James Jones kind of pick. Solid pick. I really like that one. Do you have any other thoughts on that?
He's an older player, so I think he's going to produce right away in the NBA.
I love it. I'm totally down for that pick. Just the way you described that, I think that is near perfect. What about your fourth prospect for the Phoenix Suns?
So I took this one from ESPN. We got Bones Highland. So he's just a pure scorer. He reminds me of Emmanuel Quickley. I mean, he's like a carbon copy of Emmanuel Quickley. He just gets buckets, and you always need a guy who can get buckets. He's probably gonna fill the role of a Jordan Clarkson type for the Suns, like kind of like Cameron Payne, but a little more scoring oriented. And I feel like Cam Payne and him would be very, very fun because I don't know if there would be much defense in that lineup, but it would be very electric to watch in terms of scoring. But Bones Highland, that's pretty much it for him. He's just a scorer.
From VCU, 20 points per game over the last 2 seasons, nearly 40% from three. And he attempted 6 threes per game. He's just a pure scorer, a deep shooter too. He can play on and off the ball. His energy is great. Confidence is sky high. And that's another guy that I kind of feel is sort of rising up draft boards, but every mock draft is different. And I mentioned this earlier too. I saw this from a few Suns fans. They said, how awesome would it be to have Bones and Jalen Smith, aka Sticks, on the same team? He's obviously got the best name in the draft. So Bones Highland. And you know what? You can never go wrong with just having a scorer on your team. And if that's what he is, great. Devin Booker and Chris Paul are going to take up so much attention. And, let's say he plays with the bench, like as you mentioned with Cam Payne. Let's say Cameron Johnson's out there too. He could just be chilling there and just light it up. So Bones Highland, I love that pick. And are we on number 3 or 4? This conversation has been flying by. I'm already losing numbers, but what's your next pick?
If I'm being honest, Bones Highland doesn't seem like a James Jones pick, though.
Right?
Does he feel that for you?
I don't know, because I feel like the first 3 prospects, especially the last 2, are James Jones kind of picks. You might be right on that. You might have something going there. Why do you think that?
I don't know. I feel like Bones is going to take a little bit to really get going. I think his scoring is going to translate, but like you saw with Emmanuel Quickley, he really wasn't a factor in the playoffs too much. So that's probably going to be the same for Bones Highland because they're pretty much identical in my opinion.
And that's another thing too, is like how much time do the Suns really want to try to develop this player? And I don't know. I do get a weird vibe, especially now that we're actually talking about it. If this is kind of a James Jones pick, and obviously James Jones doesn't want to reveal all of his secrets to the media about who he's drafting. Um, and it's funny because there actually was a list that was revealed. Let me pull it up real quick about players the Suns have met. Um, and
Yeah, pull that up.
Bones Highland was on that list. Now, this was just from one source, and he said there was a full list of players to the source's knowledge that have met with the Suns pre-draft. I'll just read them off real quickly. Jaden Springer, Trey Murphy III, Trey Mann, Miles McBride, who I really like, by the way, Bones McHighland, Quentin Grimes. I don't want to butcher this name. Amir Sims, Ferron Hunt, a couple other guys, and yeah, that was it. So he was on that list. Now, that doesn't mean the Suns liked him, but he was on that list of Suns players, you know, and draft picks that they met with. So
Trey Murphy was on that list.
Trey Murphy was on that list.
Yeah, he's going to be a beast. 3-and-D player, 40% from three, long,
7-foot wingspan.
Yeah, he can guard pretty much every position.
So
he's
James
Jones.
Yeah.
You guys are just going to fill your teams with the 3-and-D players.
I was reading another guy. I'm sorry. He's from Virginia. Yeah. And again, you can never have enough wings. I truly do believe in that. And yeah, it's a solid pick right there. Any other prospects on your mind? Do you have any honorable mentions that you want to talk about?
Honorable mentions. I got Isaiah Todd, Io Desumi from Illinois. He's like a point guard type player, pretty good. Should be playable in his first year. I don't know how much though. Trey Mann from Florida. He can create his own shot with ease. Sharif Cooper as well. He's kind of like a Bones Highland type, but all the point guards like in the later first round, it's going to be hard to just play them right away. That's why I don't see the Suns taking like a point guard, because it's going to be hard to just fit him in and actually play him real minutes. And if he does play, it's only going to be in the regular season, like here and there, and he's probably not going to play in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with that actually. And that's where, again, I just don't know what we're going to do with this pick and how it's going to look like during the season. We obviously don't know what's going to happen with re-signing everybody. But again, last year with Jalen Smith, I know last year was a weird year and everything. I do believe that the Suns, I feel like really in a way, a lot of players could be traded. I'm not going to say any names, but a lot of players could be traded. But I do believe that when James Jones drafts somebody, he doesn't want to give up on them right away unless the package is right. So maybe he will draft this player, and maybe he'll develop, and maybe he'll play good minutes and do what he needs to do out there. But I just don't know what they're going to do with this pick. I don't know. There's a lot of, but I will say this too. I'm happy we're having this conversation. I'm glad the Suns have the 29th pick for the first time since like 10 years ago. You know, this isn't a lottery pick. This is amazing.
Last year you had a lottery.
And yes, I understand, and I do want to get your thoughts on this. I understand that this is a loaded draft. This arguably could be one of the best drafts of all time, which I'll get your thoughts on that in a minute. But who cares, guys? The Suns went to the finals. We got the 29th pick. Your Sixers got the 28th pick. That's a different story, though. But so yeah, Romp, do you agree with me that on this draft, maybe it's recency bias here, do you believe that like the depth of this draft is at an all-time high? Do you feel like this is going to be one of the best draft class ever? Would you agree with that?
I don't know about best of all time. It's hard to say because I feel like a lot of the top guys besides like Cade, Evan Mobley, and Jalen Green are kind of up in the air. Like Scotty Barnes, Moses Moody, they could either turn out to be something great or just something average. You know what I'm saying? But I think players like Chris Duarte, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, like the older players are going to be like really good plug-in role players right away. So I think it's really like you could get a quality player with the 29th pick. That's how good this draft is. Right. And someone in the second round or late first may end up being like the best player. That's how deep it is.
And we've seen that so many times too.
Also, I could see like James Jones doing like a drafting for potential just to have like an asset to trade away for like the future. Like someone like JT Thor, he's kind of like a Giannis type where he's going to come in, he's going to take like 5 years to develop.
He's thin and he's long.
Yeah, if he develops because he has like guard skills as a 7-foot monster, he's going to be unbelievable. So I could see James Jones going in that direction just so he has some trade assets for the future if he wants to get crazy with trades, because the Suns really don't need to draft someone, and like they don't need to add anyone from the team from the draft. It would be nice, but they don't need to. That's why a lot of people aren't really interested in the Suns like pick this year.
Right. I do agree with you. And real quick on JT Thor, he's going to be 19 in August, so he's still super young. A lot of potential there. Could become like a multiple defender, positional defender one day. Could stretch the floor, but he's skinny. Could be a project. And I don't know what the Suns are looking for in a project right now. But I know that you really like JT Thor. I just love his name, by the way. But yeah, it's going to be a weird draft. But I mean that in a good way. I feel like this could be a kind of, quote, mystery draft. I felt like last year, and again, I know last year was weird, there were guys that were projected to be somewhere and they didn't fall that way. And I love those kinds of drafts. But I really do believe that the first 3 picks are probably going to be all-stars, and they might down the road be 3 of the best players in the league down the road. But this draft is deep, even in the second round. I'm excited for the second round. Always have been. And hopefully this is one of the best draft pools in recent years, and I'm just really excited, you guys. By the way, we are planning I am planning a draft live stream that day. Probably going to be going live for 4 hours like I did last year. Romp will be there. He's got some stuff planned on his channel as well. But Romp, just last minute question here. Do you have any other, even if it's not Suns related, do you have any other favorite prospects in this draft? Anybody else that you want to talk about?
Daveon Mitchell and Chris Duarte are my favorite 2 players from the draft. Not that they're going to be the best players, but they're my favorite right. Personal players.
Right.
I think Chris Duarte is going to be unbelievable.
Right.
Especially if he goes to the Warriors. Whew. Whew.
Yeah.
Scary.
No, that's definitely good. I really appreciate you being on here, man. You helped me basically break down a lot of these picks, because some of them I knew about, but I didn't know as much about because I was too busy covering the Suns finals run. Once again, you guys, I'm super excited for the draft. Stay tuned on draft night on this channel. I'll be going live. It's going to be fun. I'll probably be drinking, to be honest. It's going to be a good time. Romp will be there. We'll have some other guests. It's going to be a great time. So Romp, they already know where to find you on your Romp 2.0 channel. But why don't you tell us about your second channel that you launched with Steven?
Oh, yeah. It's called Steven and Romp Talk Sixers. No, it's called Sixers Talk with Steven and Romp. We changed it just the other day. We just talk Sixers, rant about the Sixers. It's doing pretty well. So if you enjoy hearing people complain about their favorite team, I suggest you check it out, because we'll be doing a lot of complaining. I can tell you that.
I'll make sure to add both of Romp's links down below in the description after this. And Romp, one last minute question before we get out of here. If you're the GM of the Sixers, who are you drafting at 28?
We trade the pick. We trade it. I don't want it.
All right.
Trade it for a star.
Sounds good.
And sign and trade with Kyle Lowry. Get Kyle Lowry on the team.
Hashtag get Kyle Lowry on the Sixers. All righty, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to Hulk smash that like button, especially if you're watching this live stream afterwards. Hulk smash that like button. Comment down below. What should the Phoenix Suns do with this 29th pick? Who do you want the Suns to draft? And hey, who do you want the Sixers to draft? I don't know. Get crazy in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Brandon, aka Suns Geek, and if it has to deal with the Phoenix Suns, I'm going to make a video about it. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.